Did you know that your actions are shaping the future of your kids? What they do, how they think, maybe who they marry, maybe the kind of family they have? And I don't know about you, but I want the best future for my kids that they can possibly have, even though this world is crazy. Hi, I'm your host, Ed Tanny McGlasson. Welcome to the Man of Honor podcast, where we help men just like you and me win the biggest game of all. No, it's not the NFL. It's your life, your love, and family. We're back with Stephen Brewster on part 2 of our podcast. And we're going to talk about how your actions shape your kid's future. Maybe you've been doing it wrong. You can learn to do it right. Here's Stephen. How much of the formation of your ability to really navigate hurt and stuff starts with your dad?
It's a great question. I don't know that I've ever thought about it that way, honestly, Ed. But I think my dad did a really good job of owning his portion in things. So I think I probably learned that there.
Was he good at
Yeah,
coming to you and saying, noticing when you're kind of giving him the whatever kind of face, right? Where
oh yeah.
he'd come and say, well, son, what did I do that hurt you so I can ask for forgiveness?
Yeah, I don't know that we had that kind of relationship, but I definitely have strived to have that kind of relationship with my kids.
There we go.
And
Powerful.
and have leaned into, hey, I hurt you right there, and I didn't mean to do that, so I'm sorry. Or, hey, what can I do to be a better parent? And early on, the answer to that question was like more ice cream, more money. But as they've matured, you really find some insight into like how your actions are impacting them. Because I mean, and this is the bedrock of your ministry. The actions of our parents dictate the feelings and the future of our children. And so it's so important that we're cognizant of that.
Yeah, because we usually start out parenting the way we were parented.
Right.
And if your dad was there, that's a bonus. But learning how to be a present dad, for instance, we just talk about dads, my job as a father, I didn't know this when I started having kids, is to set the culture of forgiveness in my family.
Wow.
Where my job is to continue to measure the temperature. And when my kids are battling and fighting, it really, it just knocks our family sideways. And when they start hitting it at me, my early days was all about muscling them and just doing a sermon to where they would sort of like, my kids were really, after a while, they give me a nickel and go, thanks for the sermon, Dad, and then slam their door. So it didn't really do anything. And kind of the moment that changed for me in my family was hearing my children make fun of one another, sort of like what I did with them, with kind of like, hey, just kidding, this passive aggressive thing. And I remember one day hearing that, and my heart was so grieved because I had modeled to my children how to treat one another. Kind of brought the locker room talk of the NFL to right into my home. And I remember just really grieved. I go, what do I do? And the Holy Spirit just kind of, he showed me, says, well, you haven't taught them how to ask for forgiveness.
Wow.
And so I went out there and I said, hey, family meeting, which usually meant Dad's going to chew us out. We're not being good preacher kids, So we all sat there on a table and I said, I know that as your dad, I've done some things that have hurt you that I have never asked for forgiveness for. Can you tell me what those are? And my chatty kids around this dining room table got silent. And my oldest son said, really? My daughter started crying, goes, really, Daddy? And I realized how much hurt I had caused. And then they started to tell me, well,
Mhm.
Dad, when you did this the other day, that really hurt me. And so I said, would you forgive me for doing that? Made it specific to the point of what hurt them. And all of a sudden, it was like, yes, I'll forgive you, Daddy. The healing started coming. And without preaching a sermon, I had just laid in a foundation of forgiveness by modeling what I wanted, what God
Yep.
really wanted me to do. And that
So
changed my
beautiful.
family.
Yeah, it's so beautiful. And
Because
just think about
you're
how
the
that
model.
that
Go ahead.
well, I was going to say, think about how that moment is going to transcend generations. Like your kids aren't going to forget that moment.
They know they're modeling it, and they're also very quick to go, "Hey, Dad, I need to talk to you about something." Yeah,
Right?
what's up? Well, you did this the other day, and that really hurt me. Ugh, you're so right. Will you forgive me for that? Very specific. See, forgiveness. Some people treat forgiveness like this papal blessing. Will you forgive me for anything I've
Hmm.
ever done? That means absolutely nothing to your wife. She'll go, what? Get out of here. No. But if you make it specific, something happens in the midst of that because you can't unroot pain and hurt if you
Right.
stay dishonest in that relationship with that other person.
Yep.
So
So true.
forgiveness is the big
So,
part of
so true.
that you've done in your own life. And how about with you and your wife? How do you and your wife, even though she's a full-time professional counselor, how do you process hurt with you guys? What have you learned?
Well, I'm usually getting told what I did wrong, and then I just got to fix it, Ed. So, I mean, it's not much different than any other relationship. No, I'm totally kidding. I think it goes back to exactly what you just said. It's open dialogue. It's honest conversation. It's being willing to lean into that moment and say, "Hey, that hurt me," or that, you know, and we've had a lot of those conversations. Hey, when you said that joke in front of your family, that really, you made me the butt of the joke, and that's not cool. And
Yeah,
there was no intention in that. You're like, in that moment, you're just having a conversation. You're just, goofing around. But it's amazing. Again, you hurt the people that matter to you the most.
yeah,
And you got to learn how to be more aware and to be more present. And that's the other thing is, like, in our relationship, one of the things that I think is most um that causes the most tension is when we're in the exact same room but we're a million miles apart.
mm,
We both work from home, so we are together all the time, but we're not always together.
yeah.
And so it's so important that you put your phone down and you focus in and you pay attention and you have conversation and you make eye contact and you do the things that are required to build connection.
That's
Because
so good.
when you have connection and you have healthy attachment, you can kind of work through just about anything.
Yeah, that's true. Because you're not assuming the worst about the person
Right.
because you're connecting, and so
Right.
yeah, that's really powerful. Because when you're not on the same page with your wife, and she's giving you one of these, whatever. Ain't no sunshine when she's home. Boom, doo, doo. You start.
We need to get you a record deal, Ed.
Believe it or not, I used to. I sang to my wife coming down the aisle, and with a guitar.
That's awesome.
It was fun. I used to play a lot of guitar, bluegrass. Ricky Skaggs been a longtime friend, and known a lot of country artists there that live around you. Just great, great
Yeah.
folks. Normal. They're just normal folks that get a little glitter on them, and They're like world famous, and they're just great
Yeah.
at singing songs. But because there's probably guys listening right now who are they're saying, yeah, but we're in trouble, and we got
Mhm.
some big hurdles to overcome in that area because I've really blown it for a long time. What would you say to that guy?
Welcome to the club. I'm the president. I'm so happy to see you. That's the first thing I would say to him. The second thing I would say to him is you're you have the ability to not be what your actions have been, right?
Mhm.
So you can be the better version of yourself,
Yeah,
but it takes intentionality, and it's going to take humility and intentionality and a ridiculous amount of both. And your wife's not looking for perfection.
that's right.
She's looking for connection. And when you start to connect, you'll start to improve. And the more that we do that, and it's hard. I mean, it's hard for ladies as well, but for guys, we're carrying that weight of the family and the job and providing and caring and um, college and expenses and just there's real pressures in our world, but um, God designed you to do it the right way. And resources like you have, Ed, and some of the coaching and some of the things that you guys do in your ministry are so powerful, so impactful for helping guys kind of correct a little bit. And I don't know this for sure. We've only had a couple conversations, but I would guess when you were playing in the NFL, there were some days that you showed up to the field, and when you were practicing, there's a coach that had to come along and do some slight little alignments to the things that you were doing, and you had gotten into a habit of doing it a certain way, and when they were able to correct just slightly, it changed everything about how you executed that moment. And I love that you're the coach now because you get to do that with some of these guys.
Well, thank you. I mean, it doesn't. I've told this story before in another podcast a couple of days ago. But when I went to New York Giants, Bill Belichick was our special teams coach. One of the most celebrated head coaches of all time. With the Patriots,
Mhm.
whether you love him or like him, he's an incredible coach.
Well, all my in-laws on my wife's side are all from the Foxborough area. So that they all
Uh,
love some
they
Bill
drank
Belichick.
the Kool-Aid, man. They drank. So
Hardcore.
I had a nose guard who was just named was Jim Burt, all pro, amazingly strong, 6'2", 6'2" wide, like a bowling ball rolling over you. And I felt like I had ice skates on sometimes because he'd power me. And so Belichick walks over, and during one of the practices during the week, he goes, "How you doing already, Mac?" I said, "Not so good, coach." He goes, "Want a little help?" I said, "Sure." He goes, "Come with me." So he takes me inside the locker room to the film room, and they had already dialed up some film. And he said, "I want you to watch this. You noticed anything?" It was me blocking Jim in practice. I'm looking at it, and he goes, "Look at your right foot. Is it going forward or backward?" And I was drop stepping 6 inches as I snapped the ball to Phil Simms. Jim Burt, who's facing me, stepping forward with 6 inches, and I was losing 6 inches of ground on every single play. And he said, "If you just make a different step, you're going to beat him because you're stronger than him." So we went back after the field, and he drilled me for about, I don't know, half hour, 45 minutes. The next day of practice, sure enough, he's smiling at me. Went over there, turned around, snapped the ball to the field, took a 6-inch step forward, got underneath Jim Burt, got underneath him, pile drived him right on his back, and he's pissed. He's swinging. "How'd you do that? How'd you do that?" I said, 6 inches, man, 6 inches. He didn't understand. Simple and profound, wasn't it? I hope this blessed you today. I'm so grateful that you've listened to our podcast that I got to give you something else. I want to give you a free 15-minute coaching session to help you kind of overcome your biggest hurdle or the biggest giant in your life or your family right now, and you said, Ed, I need some help, I'd love to help you. Click on the link in the description of this show. Be sure to check out part 3 of this podcast, The Secret of Being a Great Dad. Some powerful stuff. Remember, it's never too late for God to turn your story around and make you the husband and father that your kids need you to be. If he did it for me, I know he can do it for you. God bless you.